In Night Terrors, Batman issue number 2 by Joshua Williamson, Batman gets a chance to talk to his younger self. For context, in the previous issue, Batman is trapped inside a nightmare after being put to sleep by insomnia. A villain in DC Universe has the ability to engulf people in their own nightmares. While Bruce is trying to find a way out of the nightmare, he realizes that the reason he can't wake up is because Deadman is possessing his body after he went to sleep in the real world. And he can't wake up as long as Deadman is in control. The story starts off with us seeing Bruce and Robin sitting in their dreams. Batman mentions how he trained his whole life of all threats, including dangers from his own dreams. But with Deadman in control of his body in the real world, it's creating a block within his mind, and he can't become lucid in his dreams. No matter how hard he fights for control, it's denied. It then takes Batman to the night his parents died. A young Bruce asks the man with the gun, Joe Chill, why he would do this, with Joe Chill saying he can never answer that question. A demonic Bruce then looks up, telling him he's lying, as he lunges at him, saying he killed them and that he wanted it, and that he wants to be Batman and to admit it. He then rips off the face of Joe Chill, revealing it's Batman underneath. Batman throws off the demonic Bruce Wayne, telling Insomnia to back off. The demon Bruce tells him he's not Insomnia, but rather the same person he is, as he mentions that's how he knows all of his secrets. He tells Batman that is all he is. A bunch of more demonic Bruces spawn, and tells Batman that after everything he's done, there's a reason he always comes back to this alley, because there's a piece of him forever trapped there. I really like this bit. I know this kind of plot line is overused at times, but I like the unique twist they have here with it being used to torture him in a sense. It's interesting, and I'm glad the story takes this route, and you'll see why later. Anyway, the demon Bruces all attack Batman, nearly overpowering him. Batman tells Insomnia that he doesn't need to fight him or this nightmare. Instead, he has to do what he never wanted to do, and just let go, and let the nightmares take control of him. He then flies off from the horde of demon Bruces, skyrocketing across Gotham. As he's flying, he mentions to himself how in the real world, he may not wish to have Superman's powers, but here in his dream, it takes on a different meaning, one that he will unpack once it's all over. He then tells himself that he can't spend too much time dwelling in his own dreams and nightmares. He tells himself that the Gotham he sees isn't the real Gotham, it's how his mind is processing the nightmare realm Insomnia is trying to trap him in. He then tells himself, though, that he can skip past it and head deeper into his mind. The next shot is one of my favorites. Batman mentions how he heads deeper into the garden of dreams that needs tending to, full of weeds, a weed named Deadman. He mentions how his mind catalogs his dreams, as it shows his love life with Selena Kyle and I think Talia right there. It also shows a glimpse into his complicated heart, showing Frank Miller's Batman fighting Superman, which is awesome, and also showing some of the dreams that are lies, like Batman working with Brainiac. He tells himself that he needs to find a way to shock his own system so he can shake Deadman loose and return to the real world. He then mentions how he now sees what he needs to do just that, which is the Black Door, which I believe represents a mental block Bruce has. Bruce smiles as he approaches the door, and then suddenly, Insomnia appears behind him, asking Bruce if he really just smiled to himself. Insomnia says it's funny how their dreams will always play tricks on them, and uses his new pet he has with him as an example, which is a giant bat with guns attached to him. A little silly, but yeah. He mentions how the gun bat is two pieces of Batman combined, the symbol he embraced and the one he denied, a perfect version of Batman. He then mentions if this Black Door could possibly be where Dr. Destiny houses the Nightmare Stone. For context, Insomnia is inducing people in nightmares and traveling to each of them to search for the Nightmare Stone, which I don't know what it exactly does, but I think it may be able to warp reality. He then sees how the door is locked and mentions how someone really wanted to keep people out. Batman then tells him that he doesn't have his Nightmare Stone. Insomnia then tells him he can't be trusted, and tells him to open the door so he can get what's inside, threatening to put Batman in an endless loop of his own nightmares if he doesn't do so. Batman then tells him that he's been obsessed with control for years, and now, Insomnia has shown him that his dreams will give him what he needs to be him, and tells Insomnia to get out of his nightmares, or else he'll show him something really scary. I just find this funny. I feel like Batman is the last person you want to try and scare, let alone enter his nightmares. Insomnia then tells Batman he's not playing by the rules, and tells Gunbat to get him. Gunbat flies at Batman and starts shooting. Batman then simply says no and pulls the Matrix on the bullets, stopping them in their place and throwing them back to Gunbat. Insomnia then mentions that something is happening out in the land of nightmares and it's pulling him away, telling Batman maybe he was right. Batman then tells him the gunbat creature did not come from his mind, rather, Insomnia created it to manipulate and try to scare him. Insomnia then tells him that he should have taken him up on his offer, but now it's too late, as Batman rips off the gun off a gunbat, saying he doesn't scare easy. Batman then tells him he runs away as soon as it's getting interesting. He then tells him that he was wrong, as he opens the door, saying Dr. Destiny didn't put the door there, but he himself did. As he goes up the stairs, he mentions how this is not a part of his nightmare, it's just him. He mentions how Insomnia was right about one thing, that there is a piece of himself forever stuck in that alley. He talks about that night, about how the sounds of gunshots is nothing unusual in Gotham, so when his parents died, it didn't draw any attention. He mentions how he was alone with his parents' bodies for 90 minutes before a beat cop happened to pass by, but none of that is the nightmare he hid behind the black door. He says how the boy that was alone in that alley made a promise to himself, a vow of vengeance to make sure what happened to him never happens to anyone else, and ever since that day, Batman has wondered if this boy in the alley would be scared if he's seen him today, or disappointed in what he has become. He asks himself if he let himself down, which is a fear he has had all these years. The young Bruce, crying, says how his parents are dead, his family gone, and how he's now alone. Batman then kneels down to him and tells him that in this moment, he may think his mission is his and his alone, but tells him that he's never alone, and that he'll have a life unlike anything he's ever expected. He mentions to him how for a long time he'll live in the shadows, isolated, hidden and shielded away from anything but the mission, but others will find him in the dark, friends that he can't imagine, some who can fly and shoot fire from their eyes, some who can stop bullets with their bracelets, some who are so fast they can break the speed barrier, and children who will make him into a better man. The young Bruce then tells him how all that sounds like a dream. Batman smiles, telling him it's more than that, as he hugs the young Bruce, saying it's his family. This is one of my absolute favorite Batman moments. It goes to show you how appreciative he is of what he has. His world is way bigger than you ever would have imagined, but it helped grow him into a better person, and you can tell how thankful he is of it. Bruce then takes off his mask and thanks the young Bruce, with the young Bruce telling him he's proud of him, but asks him why he dresses like a bat. He tells him it's because bats can be scary, with young Bruce telling him bats are cool, with Batman agreeing. The world around them is then seen to be vanishing, as Batman rises, realizing that that was what it took to break Deadman out of control, as his mind pulls him back to reality. During the process, he sees different versions of Batman, including Michael Keaton's Batman, Zur-En-Arrh Batman I think is how it's pronounced, and Frank Miller's Batman, which is awesome. Batman then yells at himself to wake up. He then asks Boston Brand, aka Deadman, what all that was he just saw just now. He then breaks the chain of Deadman's control, with it also showing the black door he entered close on itself. He then wakes up, yelling, coming back to his senses. He then realizes he's in Arkham Tower and mentions how his body is extremely sore and exhausted, more than he's ever been in his whole life. He tries to figure out what Deadman did to him and why he took control of his body. He looks over to Gotham and sees it engulfed in chaos, making him think he's still in a nightmare. Robin then appears, however, telling him no, and that's actually the real world, and that they lost.